This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
The British Prime Minister Gordon Brown has addressed the Israeli parliament with a message of support for the peace process with the Palestinians. He also delivered an attack on what he called the Iranian president's abhorrent threats against Israel. David Chater has more.
Gordon Brown crafted his speech at the Israeli parliament to deliver a stark warning to Iran. Already accused by the Americans of using stalling tactics in the weekend talks in Geneva, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom said Tehran now faced a clear choice.
Suspend its nuclear weapons program and accept our offer of negotiations, or face growing isolation and the collective response not just of one nation, but of all nations round the world.
It was a message the Israeli lawmakers welcomed, but analysts here say yet another round of sanctions will not be enough to deter the Iranians from their nuclear ambitions.
But what Israel really wants is not tough talk from visiting politicians. Israel is waiting for a green light from the US that will allow it to either to launch its own attack or perhaps see an American attack happening on the Iranian nuclear installation. Because you speak to any Israeli politician, no one here has any expectations of the diplomatic process going on with Iran as we speak to have any effect on the Iranian nuclear program. So tough words from Gordon Brown or other visiting politicians are very nice, but Israel's interested in something much more significant.
But let me tell you today that
in a speech that was eloquent in its praise of the state of Israel, the British Prime Minister urged that now was the time to grasp the opportunity of peace with the Palestinians.
And to deliver this historic, hard-won and lasting peace, it is vital also that both sides now create the conditions for a final agreement. The Palestinians acting with persistence and real perseverance against the terrorists who attack your country. Israel freezing and withdrawing from settlements, and like many of your friends, I urge you to make these decisions.
The Israeli Prime Minister is still talking up those prospects of peace despite the continued expansion of Israeli settlements in the occupied West Bank. He told his British counterpart, although the conflict was a bitter one, it was not unsolvable, and the profound disagreements that still existed were bridgeable. David Chater, Al Jazeera, Jerusalem.
Some news in brief now. The US Democratic presidential candidate Barack Obama has met Iraq's Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki in Baghdad. The meeting took place after Obama met US troops in the country. It is unclear what exactly he and the Prime Minister talked about, though. Obama's previously pledged to remove US combat troops from Iraq within 16 months of taking office if he wins that November presidential race. But an Iraqi government spokesman says that issue was not raised because Obama has no official capacity.
أهلا بكم مجددا. حذرت وزيرة الخارجية الأمريكية كوندوليزا رايس
U.S. Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice warned Iran that it may face further sanctions if it doesn't comply with the 2-week deadline to restrain its nuclear program.
للصبر حدود شعار رفعه الغرب بقيادة
Patience has a limit. This slogan is being raised by the U.S. and the West in their nuclear showdown with Iran. Washington has rejected what it described as Iranian stalling and gave Tehran 2 weeks to respond seriously to the international proposal, which demands Iran halt sensitive nuclear tests, hinting that Iran may face strict sanctions through the UN Security Council.
If Iran doesn't give us
serious answer within 2 weeks, we will be able to go to the Security Council and impose further sanctions.
The threats and warnings also came from Britain, which confirmed that Iran may face further isolation if it continues to reject the incentives offered by the leading powers regarding the Iranian controversial nuclear program.
Our country will continue to lead.
Iran has a clear choice. Either it suspends its nuclear program and accepts the negotiations, or face further isolation.
British sources accompanying Brown in his visit to Israel said that the Iranian rejection to the international incentives will be followed by further restrictions on Iran's production of oil and gas, which will make it more difficult for Iran to obtain products and parts for its oil refineries. Meanwhile, Ankara confirmed that Iran and the Group of Six sought the help of Turkey to break the deadlock in the nuclear negotiations. In addition, Turkey's Foreign Minister, Ali Babjan, confirmed that his country will not lead the official mediation process, but it will try to help and ease up the negotiations. Iran's nuclear negotiator, Saeed Jalili, said that his country didn't discuss the suspension of its uranium enrichment program during the Geneva talks, and said that he presented a roadmap for the continuing of negotiations.
The Geneva talks were constructive and positive. We did not discuss the issue of suspending uranium enrichment. The talks were focused on bringing the various points of view closer regarding the negotiations and their time frames.
Freezing in exchange for freezing. This was a principle that the Geneva talks were based on. It implies Iran's acceptance to keep its uranium enrichment at the current level, and in exchange, the Group of Six will not impose further sanctions on Iran. The U.S., which gave all the carrots available at the bargaining table, said its patience is running thin and hinted, along with its allies, that it will use the stick of isolation and sanction if all options failed. Khalid al-Khashef, Al-Arabiya.
العربية.
In the occupied territories, the government of Olmert discusses ways of pushing forward the prisoner swap deal with Hamas, while the army carries out new group arrests. Today, the Israeli army arrested about 20 activists from Hamas, including one woman parliamentarian. The arrest took place during an incursion on Nablus, in the north of the West Bank. Dozens of Jeep military cars infiltrated Nablus at dawn and arrested 20 people, including Muna Mansour, a member of the Palestinian Legislative Council. Detained for questioning was the order issued by the Israeli army on the Israeli soldier taped firing a rubber bullet at an arrested Palestinian. The video of this assault against an unarmed Palestinian was captured by a girl from the Nalin village. This young Palestinian was arrested about 2 weeks ago while participating in a protest against the apartheid wall in the village. Handcuffed and blindfolded, he was asked to stand in this place. He did not see the rifle aimed at him. A rubber bullet was fired at his foot, a verdict chosen by the Israeli soldier prior to any investigation. The video was sent to an Israeli human rights organization, which published it and delivered a copy to the Israeli army. The Israeli army began an investigation of this assault.
Prime Minister Ehud Olmert's lawyers had their fourth day in court with American businessman Morris Talansky today. Olmert's lawyer, Navot Tzur, took the reins from the head of Olmert's defense team, Eli Zohar, in an intense questioning session that continued a defense strategy to undermine Talansky's credibility. IBA's Elisha Rabin has more.
The Prime Minister's defense team is demanding that the Attorney General investigate who is behind yet another leak to the media. The newspaper Yediot Achronot printed the transcripts from the second police interrogation of Olmert, sparking outrage among both the defense and the prosecution. At the same time, another tape showing the interrogation of Talansky also made its way to the public. Olmert's lawyers are calling for the police to investigate how the near constant stream of leaked information is getting into the hands of the media. In court, a change from the soft-spoken Olmert lawyer Ali Zohar to the more aggressive Navot Teltsur, who directed questioning into more volatile territory. Teltsur grilled Talansky about his previous statements regarding 2 direct cash transfers into former Olmert attorney Yuri Messer's bank account. The 2 transfers totaled $210,000. The money came from Talansky's defunct company, Israel Development, and Talansky has said he wasn't sure who ordered the transfer. But today, Teltsur confronted Talansky on his words, showing him a document that ordered the transfer. Talansky approved the transfer, Teltsur argued, by giving Messer power of attorney to execute the transaction. Talansky responded, saying he doesn't remember having signed that document. The atmosphere between Talansky and Olmert's attorneys was once again confrontational. After having been called a liar by Olmert's attorneys, a lawyer for Talansky said Talansky's testimony should be in fact trusted, and that Talansky has never had anything against the Prime Minister.
That's what Mr. Talansky is saying from the beginning, from day one at his investigation, that he had no quarrel with Mr. Olmert, that he supported him during the years, and that support was completely legitimate. What happens here is a charade, which is not aimed to achieve any points on the law, but apparently it's for the public eye.
After 4 days, it's becoming clear that this legal drama is being played out more in the media than in the courtroom. For IBA News, I'm Elisha Rabin.
Arab foreign ministers criticized what they described as an unbalanced position of the chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, ICC, Luis Moreno Ocampo. Ocampo accused the Sudanese president, Omar al-Bashir, with charges of genocide and asked the court to issue a warrant for his arrest. After meeting for about 7 hours, the Arab foreign ministers issued a final communique attesting to the qualifications of the Sudanese judiciary system and that it has legal jurisdiction for achieving justice. They said that the Sudanese law should be the one to investigate the crimes in Darfur, which would drop the charges against it according to the ICC statute.
عندما دعت الحكومة السودانية إلى اجتماع طارئ لوزراء الخارجية العرب لمناقشة التداعيات.
The Sudanese government called for an emergency meeting for the Arab foreign ministers to discuss the dangerous repercussions of the warrant issued by the ICC for Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir.
لمواجهة الضغوط المتزايدة بسبب تعثر الحل في إقليم دارفور.
Sudan needed Arab support to face the increasing pressures resulting from the problems in the Darfur region. The Arab ministers convened for about 5 hours at the Arab League headquarters in Cairo. Their final statement was congruent with the desires of Khartoum, even though it did not condemn the memo made by Chief Prosecutor of the ICC, Luis Moreno Ocampo. Law experts advised against using condemning language. However, the decision made by the Arab foreign ministers did not fail to criticize the attempts of trying to politicize the principles of international justice. They described Ocampo's allegations as unbalanced.
The Council of Ministers found an imbalance because nothing was mentioned about the rebel groups and what they have done. There is clearly a political angle to this case, in addition to the legal aspects. This is why we are dealing with both these aspects.
To
assure that the efforts of the Arab League bear fruit, the Secretary General of the Arab League, Amer Moussa, was assigned to inform President Bashir of an Arab plan of action. He will also conduct calls with the Secretary General of the United Nations and the head of the African Union. This is aimed at finding a common voice to diffuse the conflict between Sudan and the International Criminal Court and to participate in ending the struggle in Darfur. According to Sudanese officials, these measures do not include discussing any deals to turn over Sudanese indictees to the International Criminal Court. On top of the list is Cabinet Minister Ahmad Haroum and Ali Koshib, who are both accused of war crimes in the Darfur region.
We will not participate in making any deal that harms the sovereignty and rule of the Sudanese judiciary system or the sovereignty of Sudan. We are sure there is an adept judiciary system, which Ocampo also admitted. Per today's statement, we are against double standards and the political motivations in regards to this issue. We are also against worsening the situation and delaying the peace process.
The Arab foreign ministers called on the ICC to fulfill its responsibility in maintaining international safety and security and not allowing any side to take actions that hinder the efforts aimed at resolving the 5-year-old Darfur crisis. The Arab foreign ministers' emergency meeting did not use condemning language with regards to the arrest warrant for Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir. Nevertheless, they affirmed that this memo is imbalanced and politically motivated. For Al Madar, this is Mohammed Abu Rihab, Abu Dhabi TV, Cairo.
Mohammed Abu Rihab, Qanat Abu Dhabi, Al-Qahira.
Once again, the Arabs went to Spain, but the history of Andalusia will not come again.
بعد قرون من طردهم العرب عاد الإسبان ليستقبلوهم ولكن ليس كالفاتحين.
After centuries of kicking the Arabs out, the Spaniards have welcomed them once again, but this time not as victors, but as guests at the World Conference on Dialogue, which concluded its sessions in Madrid. Externally, the conference aimed to promote dialogue between the world's religions, but in its folds, it aimed at normalizing relations with Israel. The Jews had a strong presence at the conference, with 13 rabbis and 2 Jewish researchers in attendance. Amongst them were the Secretary General for the World Jewish Congress, Michael Schneider, and Rabbi David Rosen, who announced holding an Israeli citizenship. He criticized Saudi Arabia, which he said organized the conference to improve its image after the events that took place on 9/11 of 2001. The prominent rabbis included Chief of Naturi Karta in the U.S., David Weiss, Executive Director of the Center for Christian-Jewish Understanding, Joseph Ehrenkranz, Director of the Center for Multi-Faith Education, Rabbi Daniel Brenner, Director of Jewish Documents at the American Jewish Federation in New York, Michael Bally, and the editor of the Jewish Tikkun magazine in the U.S., Michael Lerner. This is in addition to the Associate Director of the Latin American Jewish Congress, Claudio Eppelman, and Chief Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, the Chief Rabbi of Great Britain and the Commonwealth. The conference was aimed at normalizing relations. It took place in Madrid to spare Saudi Arabia the embarrassment of hosting the Jews in particular, and to call for normalization. Madrid was the capital of the Arabs previously. They were kicked out after 8 centuries of controlling Andalusia. With the fall of Granada, the last dwelling place of the Arabs, Abu Abdullah XII, also known as El Chico, the Little, rode his horse out on a cold day in January of 1492. He rode away from the famous Hamra castle, which is imbued with Arab culture. He was the last Arab sultan to rule Spain. The Arabs left, but their accomplishments remained. In 1502, a royal decree ordered the confiscation of all Arabic books, prohibited people from speaking Arabic or wearing the Islamic garb, and changed Arabic names to Spanish names. However, the Arabic language remains, with no less than 3,000 words in the Spanish language derived from Arabic. The Spaniards kicked the Arabs out of Madrid, and in the minds of Arabs, Andalusia remains as an expansion that was never completed.
The Syrian-Lebanese relationship occupies a special position among its Arab counterparts, as both countries have not opened embassies with one another.
This relationship comes in the context of what has become known as Syria's loyalty inside Lebanon, or the opposition of its broad influence there. This is due to the Syrian former military presence in Lebanon, or due to the presence of Syria's strong allies there.
There has never been any diplomatic representation between Syria and Lebanon, not even during the best stages of their relationship. Under the same union, but as 2 separate countries, Syria and Lebanon have lived under the rule of the French mandate. They also negotiated as one union with the French. The Lebanese crisis spiraled out of control in 1958 and ended in the inauguration of President Fouad Shihab, who then agreed, along with the Egyptians, that while Lebanon can be allowed to run its internal affairs, it must seek the consultation of the United Arab Republic regarding its foreign policies. In 1975, the civil war erupted in Lebanon, prompting the then Lebanese President Suleiman Frangiya to seek the help of Syria. Since then, Damascus has become an important political hub to most Lebanese presidents. The Syrian forces, which refrained from countering the Israeli invasion of 1982, were attacked by the Israeli forces. In 1989, the Lebanese signed the Taif Agreement, which ended the civil war. Many Lebanese, including Michel Aoun, voiced their opposition to a Syrian presence in Lebanon. At the end of his presidential term, Amin Gemayel assigned Aoun as the head of the military government in Lebanon. After that, Aoun declared what he described as the war of liberation against a Syrian presence in Lebanon. Amidst a joint Syrian-Lebanese military operation, Aoun was forced to live in exile in France. Michel Aoun sought the help of the Americans, prompting the U.S. administration to issue, in 2004, the so-called Syrian Accountability Act, which was followed by an international resolution demanding that Syria withdraw from Lebanon. In 2004, the Syrian forces withdrew from Lebanon, and the country was divided between those supporting Damascus and those opposing it. After the Syrian withdrawal, Lebanon witnessed a series of assassinations, beginning with the assassination of the former Lebanese Prime Minister Rafiq al-Hariri and ending with the assassinations of many politicians and journalists, especially those opposing the Syrian presence in Lebanon. The Lebanese opposition has accused Syria of being behind the assassinations, an accusation that Damascus has always denied.
A number of citizens in Mosul expressed concern over the security situation in the province. Security breaches continue to take place despite the ongoing Mother of Two Springs military operation. The governor of Mosul, Durad Kashmul, attributed the deterioration in security to the lack of military equipment and insufficient numbers of soldiers who are implementing the security plan. My colleague, Arkam Altai, provides us with more details in this report.
Despite the notable improvement in the security situation after enforcing the rule of law security plan, many residents expressed concern due to the security breaches that took place in Mosul. They had the following to say.
The security plan succeeded in the beginning, but it failed toward the end. Many explosions took place, and there were security breaches. They know what the ideal solution is. It is expelling the occupation from Iraq. Frankly, this would solve all our problems.
Citizens are confused due to the situation. Sometimes the security situation is good, but at other times it is not good. Officials say one thing, but the situation on the ground is different. Officials must ease the suffering of citizens.
Security officials in Nineveh reiterated that the security plan was successful only weeks after it was implemented. Governor Durad Kashmul attributes the recent security breaches to the fact that the security plan needs additional manpower and equipment.
The security forces in Nineveh lack detection equipment for booby-trapped vehicles and explosive devices. Security forces need equipment to detect explosives so it can enforce its control over the entrances of the city and difficult areas on the city's streets. We also need additional forces so they can control the situation on the ground and begin cleansing the area in a proper way.
Others said what is happening in Mosul is also happening in other areas in Iraq that suffer from a lack of security. The support of citizens is needed to improve the security situation.
The enemy is stubborn. It takes time. I want to say that we need the support of the citizens so we can find these criminals and bring them to justice.
It is worth mentioning that a wide-scale military operation, dubbed the Mother of Two Springs, was launched by the Iraqi government on May 1, 2008, in Nineveh province, and that it still goes on. The objective is to establish security in Mosul and its suburbs after the security breaches that took place in the region. This military operation coincided with another campaign for reconstruction.
صحيح أننا نزوركم أول مرة ولكن قلوبنا عندكم مشاعرنا معكم نستمع إليكم.
It is true that this is the first time we are visiting you, but our hearts are with you. Our feelings are with you. We listen to you and follow your programs. We follow up with everything that is aired on AlAksa television channel and radio.
نتابع كل شيء لدرجة أن هذه الفضائية تحتل رقماً متقدماً.
This station follows up with everything, which explains why it is one of the most watched satellite channels both by our Palestinian people and our Arab and Muslim nation. God knows that we have been praying for you day and night, especially when you cover areas of conflict to convey images of incursions and so on.
وفي ليلنا ونهارنا وخاصة حينما تكونون في موقع المواجهة الإعلامية.
At a time when headquarters and agencies are being targeted, you are steadfast like big mountains in AlAksa studios to provide on-air programs and reporting from the ground.
في استديوهات النقل واستديوهات النقل المباشر وفي الميدان.
You stand in front of the cameras to talk to our nation while the planes of the enemy are hovering in the sky like crows. I swear to God, we have been praying for you as we have been praying for the mujahideen in the field and land defenders. Why not? You are also mujahideen in this great field of media, which has a noble mission. A media that belongs to this nation, civilization, and to Palestine and the Palestinian plight. Therefore, you occupy this position, and in a record time, God has enabled you to make big leaps.
تحتلون هذا الموقع وقدر الله لكم في وقت قياسي في سنوات قليلة.
Now you are in the front, along with leading Arabic, Islamic, and international satellites. AlAksa is now one of the leading satellite stations that is watched by millions of Arabs and Muslims. Whoever wants to learn the truth about the Palestinian plight,
من أبناء الأمة العربية والإسلامية. لا بل من يريد أن ينظر إلى القضية.
Whoever wants to know the true nature of the conflict, and whoever wants to learn about the great resistance and steadfastness must watch AlAksa channel. AlAksa conveys images that most satellite channels do not show. Except for a few professional stations that still provide coverage on issues of importance to the nation, especially the central issue of Palestine. This visit comes after the unjust American decision targeting AlAksa channel and others like it, the satellite stations of resistance and defiance.
استهدف فضائية الأقصى والفضائيات المماثلة فضائيات المقاومة والممانعة.
We want to tell our brothers who are leading this venture and work at the station, first of all, the fact that the United States categorizes you this way is a source of pride for you. It is a source of pride. As AlAksa channel has said on many occasions, those who are considered enemies of the United States become more popular. Those who are categorized as terrorists by the United States become more popular. AlAksa reaches Palestine and Arab countries, which might be a confined area, but this television station is discussed in the United States Congress. This means that this television station is great. A superpower is discussing a satellite station. This means that this satellite station is great, not a simple project.
Get more news about the Middle East online at linktv.org/Mosaic. The Mosaic webpage offers a complete archive of Mosaic programs, program transcripts, the Mosaic video podcast, and the Mosaic Intelligence Report, a weekly analysis of the hottest stories from the Middle East. The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible with the support of viewers like you. Thank you. This program was brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. television network devoted to global and national news, with uncompromising documentaries and diverse cultural programs. Programs which connect you to the world.